Hey guys, this is part 2 of the day 243 recap of what happened in the last couple of months. Uh, last episode I was talking about how I came to the conclusion where I needed to create a personal brand around me so that those my followers and that audience, those eyeballs and that attention that I could gain through personal branding would help me in any app or project that I do in the future. Instead of just, getting attention and eyeballs through advertising or, things of that nature where it's only going to work for that particular app or project. So that's what I did. And so I spent the entire month of September bleeding into October doing several things. I created a personal branded website called chrisallenlee.com. I created that website. I created, I already had the Facebook account, but I also created the personal Instagram and then Twitter account. I already had those accounts, but I just, rebranded them for my Chris Allen Lee business kind of stuff. And so I started blogging a lot. I spent literally the entire month of September blogging, putting out content on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. And that's literally how I spent my entire September, gaining that following. And some of the stuff that I learned basically about that is blogging is hard. I'm not the best writer, but it takes a long time. So blogging is something that I suggest, but it's a very long term game. So I'm still doing it, but I just don't expect any like super amazing results in the next like weeks or even months. Like that's a long term game. So I am doing that, and I actually some of the things I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but so in the middle of building my following on those social media accounts and also blogging a ton on my website, I was doing a lot of research about how to. I really wanted to build an email list because I was hearing a lot of information about how the money's in the email list. People that I followed like Tim Ferriss and a lot of other people, they're like, man, the email list is where it's at. So I found this company. I was scrolling through Facebook one day and I found this company called Digital Marketer. Digitalmarketer.com, which they provide amazing content on. A lot of it is about building email lists. Frankly, I mean, it's a way of thinking about how to market on a digital scale, and so I got this idea or this way of thinking that they described called a lead magnet, and so that's something that you provide on your website. You've got a sign up form and you're giving something away for free in exchange for the email. And then so that's one of the first things that I started doing on my chrisallenlee.com website is somewhere on the footer or somewhere there would be like an email list form that would pop up that would ask for people's email information, and I was giving them something away, and the blogs do help because they're providing content for people to get to my website, and then I'll ask them for further email information. So my whole spiel about that was that blogging works. It's just it's very slow. You need to build up content for a long time. And then they will become, they'll help you a lot if you're doing things like lead magnets. Which, funny enough, one of the things that I was learning about when I was, blogging, was that it didn't make any sense to write a blog that that was like news flash information, because as soon as it was, not useful anymore, it was like, it was 2-week old or 3-week old information about how Instagram just came out with a new feature, right? It's not very useful, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. And so I made it a point that every article that I ever wrote on my blog was what they call evergreen content, which means that it's something that is always useful. It always is relevant. And so I made sure that I was writing a lot of evergreen content, and then that led me to the next idea, and where I was like, well, look, I'm reading up about digital marketer. I want a lead magnet, but I don't know what to give away. I don't, lead magnets usually come in the form of like a free ebook or a PDF, or a webinar or something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I could come up with a PDF. What is it going to be about? What am I going to give away? And so I was having that in the back of my mind, thinking about it. And I was heavily promoting my content in my blog through social media, so through Twitter and Facebook. And something that I was looking for was that all of my content that I was writing was evergreen content, and I wanted to repost those on my social media. I wanted to repost them over and over again, because it's always relevant information. So I wanted it to be posted, on Facebook and Twitter maybe today, and then 2 or 3 weeks later I want it to be reposted again. And so I was searching for a tool that would help me do that. And eventually I found one, and it was called a Meet Edgar, which is an amazing tool. And they have this whole idea of, that's exactly what they do. They're like, hey, write evergreen content. Your content is great, especially if it's evergreen. You want to keep reposting that stuff onto LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook every once in a while, so that you can get more traffic to your website from that same content that is always relevant, so that people will read it and then happen to look at one of your lead magnets, sign up forms, and then you get more email addresses. So that was the whole idea of I wanted to create evergreen content, and then I wanted to post that evergreen content and link them out to social media again and again and again, so that I could get more readers, so that I could get a bigger email list. And that's something that I kind of came up with, and I realized that not a lot of people were actually doing that. And so I created, that became my first lead magnet in the form of a PDF called the Evergreen Social Media Strategy. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is, but basically the idea is exactly what I told you, was that you need to be making sure that you always create content that's evergreen on your website, on your blog, and then you use a tool called like Meet Edgar. There's a few other ones out there, but I like Meet Edgar. But you use a tool like Meet Edgar, and you create these, you pre-create these posts that are going to go out to Facebook and Twitter or on LinkedIn, and you set up a schedule, and they just go out and keep getting reposted and reshared to your audience on those social media networks. And there's only a small percentage that sees your content every single time on the social media accounts. So the reposting is okay, and the greatest thing is that it's always fresh, because it's evergreen content. So people aren't mad if they see that again, because it's still useful. So that was my whole idea, and I put all that information in a PDF, and I gave that away as my first lead magnet, which at the time I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like it got me a few leads, which was fantastic. But being as who I am, which is a very impatient person, I was like, oh, I need more leads. I need them faster. So I started delving into the realm of Facebook ads. Digital marketer was, they have a lot of content and like courses about how to market, how to be a good digital marketer, and one of their courses is on Facebook ads. And so I delved into that realm because I wanted to get more leads on for my lead magnet. And so I started using Facebook ads, and I eventually spent a lot of money on it. Now, here's the thing. The Facebook ads work. They work. The problem, the thing that you have to think about, though, is that you're obviously going to spend money on Facebook ads. Now, you need to make sure that the ROI that you're getting out of those Facebook leads is more than you're going to get, or is more than what you're paying for those leads. So at the time, I didn't have a product to sell. All I had was my lead magnet to get leads, and I was giving it away for free. So even though I was getting really good conversions where I would be getting $5 leads, which is really, really good, it doesn't mean anything, because if I'm not selling anything, there's no way I can recoup that money. I just I could spend $1,000, have, a great number of leads that at the beginning, I was thinking I need a good email list so that I have people that I can, that are interested in what I'm doing, so that I could create another app or do another project and tell them about it. But I didn't have anything that I was working at the time, because I was spending my entire time working on social media and writing blog content. So I didn't have anything to sell. So it works really well. I just didn't have anything to recoup that money with. I wasn't selling anything. So the next thing that I was thinking about was, well, I need something to sell. I need something to recoup that money if I'm going to spend the money on Facebook ads. So Facebook ads, I'll tell you right now, they do really well. You just need to make sure that what your ROI is going to be more than what you're going to spend. Obviously, that's straight business. But I was getting antsy and I just wanted to get started. So, So I needed to come up with something to sell, and one of the cool things about what I was doing during that time of where I was learning a bunch of stuff about, the building the website and going through Digital Marketer and learning all of these stuff, was that I took a couple of online courses from some people about them teaching me different things about, blogging and lead generation and things like that. And I was like, well, if I could create a course that I could sell online, like that would be a good way to recoup that money if I was doing Facebook ads. So if I was generating leads through ads, I wanted to recoup them somehow, and I figured, well, an online course would be pretty good. I think there's a lot of people who value information, and I think I was reading somewhere that there was online courses was like an all-time high. So Udemy was doing well and things like that. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll try to figure out something that I can create a course on. It's kind of funny thinking about how I came from building apps and all of a sudden started thinking about creating a course just so I could build an email list, just so I could have people and eyeballs and attention, so that when I build my next app that people would actually know about it. Funny. but it's just where entrepreneurship takes you to all different places. But so I was like, okay, could I extend the information that I knew about my evergreen social media strategy and produce a course that I felt comfortable selling? And my answer was no. There really wasn't much to it. I mean, the PDF was only a few pages about, the idea of saving time because you create evergreen content and you reuse that information so that it's helpful to you. There wasn't a lot of meat and potatoes there. It was just veggies. So there wasn't really a lot of meat and potatoes there, and I didn't feel comfortable about making a course out of that. So it took me a while to finally figure out what I was going to build my course on, but during that time I was really heavily investing in still writing content, still working on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. And something that I realized over the next several weeks was that, hey, I seem to be getting a lot more engagement on one particular social media platform, and that was Instagram. So I doubled and tripled down on Instagram and started creating unique content on there. So I started a couple of things like, which was funny because at this time, Instagram, I think, really started to grow as well. So they created their Instagram stories. They did a lot of upgrades to their app, and it was just a very interesting time because I think there was a lot of talk about people going and moving to Instagram, talking about it being like the next marketer's dream home, I guess, basically, and also the best the next best app platform up and coming besides Snapchat. So I doubled and tripled down on Instagram, and I started creating content when they came out with Instagram stories. I started coming out with things like Tip Tuesday and remote work or remote office Friday. So on Tip Tuesday, I would talk about some of the things that I was learning through my time being as an entrepreneur, or tips about Instagram, how to use it to gain more followers and to get more engagement. So I started doing that on Tip Tuesday, and then on Remote Office Fridays, every Friday I would go out and I would work remotely in some cool place. So I would be, either near, like chilling by a pool with my laptop, or in a hammock. I would be out in the woods. I'd be out on the beach. I'd be underwater. There was one episode where I was chilling underwater. I got a cover for my camera, and I had my iPad in a waterproof case. I was doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and I really started to gain a good following on Instagram, and I was learning all of these. I was super hungry, so I was learning all these tools and tips about how can I get more people to click on, how can I get more engagement, how can I gain more followers, how can I get more people to click the link in my bio for whatever I was trying to promote at that time. And I started to gain all of this knowledge, and then one day I was like, look, that's the course that I need to create. This is the course that I need to create because there's a lot of people who are starting to realize that Instagram was a good place to promote themselves, to brand themselves, to market themselves, as I was realizing at that time. And I had all this knowledge about how to do that very well. And I was like, that's something that I could create the course on. And so that's what I eventually created the course on. I spent a couple of weeks, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 weeks, creating that course, and I called it the Instagram Autopilot Guide. So I learned a lot of things about what works well on Instagram, and because I still wanted to promote, because I still wanted to write content and all these other things, I built automations and systems so that I could, run things the way I wanted to on Instagram, with the least amount of, time that I could give it, so that I could still work on other things. And so that's why I called it the Instagram Autopilot Guide. I was teaching all of these tools and tips, and automation tactics. And so I created that course, and let's see. So I created that course, and I did it on a website called teachable.com, which is really, really awesome. You can actually create a free course right now, today. Go on there. You can create a course for free, and they just take a percentage. They can take a percentage off, and then there's different tiers, and where you can, where they take at least less percentage, but you pay them monthly for a little bit higher price. So, but you could get started for free, which I think that's a really good website to check out. But if you wanted to create your own e-course, but that's where I created my e-course out. And what I did was I started promoting it on my own Instagram account. So that would be the link that I sent people to onto my the link in my bio in my Instagram account. And during all of this, creating this course and learning all of this stuff about social media, I happened upon a person who I'm sure most of you guys know, Gary Vaynerchuk, and he really helped me understand the idea of creating good quality content and doing the give, and then ask formula. So you're not always telling people, hey, check out the link in my bio, hey, check out the link in my bio, buy my e-course every single post. You just create good content. You create good content. That's why I was doing Tip Tuesdays and Remote Office Fridays. Wasn't asking them to do anything. And then every once in a while, I'd be like, hey, if you're interested in growing your Instagram following, go check out the link in my bio. And so that's what I did. And it was... When I did that, when I put the course as a direct link on Instagram, in the link in my bio, it didn't really do very well. I got a ton of people clicking on the link, but nobody was ever buying it. And what I realized, or what the epiphany was when it came back to me was, oh, well, I remember when I was learning some stuff from Digital Marketer, and where they talked about the lead magnet, the tripwire effect, where they were saying, or more specifically the lead magnet, and where you offer something for free so that you can get their email address, and then you can do an email series follow-up talking about certain things about your whatever product that you're trying to sell, because then you can reach them at a deeper level. You can show them a little bit more information. Maybe those are testimonials or things like that. You can't guarantee that they're gonna, if you put all that information on a landing page, they may not read it. It may not hit them very well. So the idea is to give them something for free, so that you can collect their email address, so that you can hit them up with the email series follow-up. And so I was like, yeah, that's what I need to do. Instead of just sending them directly to the Instagram Autopilot Guide course and hoping that they would buy it, I need to raise the value of the product by giving them a sneak peek of that information, so that they actually see that it's useful. And I need to do that for free and get their email addresses, so then I can build value and give them an email series follow-up to ask for the sale. So that's what I did. And so I needed to figure out what form this lead magnet was going to be in. And what I eventually decided was that I need something that's going to be really, really high value. I wanted it to be something that was high value. I didn't want it to be a PDF or ebook because there was a billion people on Instagram talking about, hey, check out my free ebook and PDF. I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to do a webinar. That's what I decided that I wanted to do, because I knew that was something that worked on me. I would be scrolling through Facebook or whatever, or Instagram, see an ad about, hey, check out this free webinar where you can learn how to do something. And I was like, oh, that seems like a very, that's a good value prop for me. So if it worked for me, I was like, that's what I need to do. So I distilled some of the information from my Instagram Autopilot Guide course. I put that into a webinar format. And so here's why I got a little interesting, okay? Like many of you, doing something live is kind of scary. It's not something that I was very keen on doing because for whatever reason. And another reason is that, I didn't want to have to do a new webinar, basically every single day, just so that I could get a few leads, right? I wanted to automate the whole process, and that's what I did. So I found this website called Webinar Jam, where they have a product called Ever Webinar. So basically what that is you can create a recording of your webinar, and then that's what plays when people when people sign up and visit your webinar after you can have people view that recording instead of you having to do a live one, basically. So you could do one live one, record that one, and then just play the recording. And so that's what I did. And that worked out really well, because then I created several times where people could sign up for the webinar, and when they showed up, it just played the recording. And so in the recording, I talked a little bit about myself, and I gave them some legit information, like straight up real tactics that they could use, very relevant and like in-depth things that they could do right then and there, very tactical stuff. Because I would see a lot of webinars and they would just talk a bunch of BS and really say nothing, and that kind of pissed me off. So I was like, I'm going to get real with them. I'm going to give them real information that they can use, very tactical and tactful stuff. And at the very end, I gave a soft pitch to my Instagram Autopilot Guide, and I put the link where you could sign up to the webinar onto my Instagram account for the link in my bio. And once I did that, that was what worked. So essentially I created a sales funnel. So I got my Instagram account. This is actually where I'm at right now. So I created an Instagram account. I provide content all the time through Instagram stories and also through just my photos. And I would do the jab, 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 right hook, where I would give content. It's absolutely free. There's no ask. And then every once in a while, I'll be like, hey, if you're interested in growing your Instagram account and gaining an audience and using that to help build your business or your product, go check out the link in my bio. And they would check out the link in my bio. It would be a sign-up form for a free webinar and where they can learn some stuff. So people would sign up, they would check out the webinar, and by that time I already got their email address, which is awesome. So I have their email address. They signed up for the webinar. They watch the webinar. They get amazing content. And at the very end, they get a pitch to my Instagram course, okay? If they buy it, fantastic. If they don't, they'll get an email series follow-up of about 4 or 5 emails, and where I give them, hey, here's a testimonial about a person that has already taken the course. Here's some other information. I actually just keep giving them more info, and that seems to work really well. And then through that email series follow-up, I'll get a few customers as well. And that's what's been working for me. So I've got, I got a lot of people who've downloaded or who've bought the course. I've got this this sales funnel that's working. And the best part is I'm not paying for ads right now. So I'm already getting like 2 to 3 leads per day for free on Instagram doing what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, I don't need to pay money for ads. I could to speed up the process, but I'm not that keen on it right now. So maybe in the future I will, but right now I'm enjoying it because it's free, and I'm getting 2 to 3 leads who sign up for the webinar, and I got their email addresses. And so if they buy the course, it's fantastic. It's really it's awesome, and a lot of people are. But if they don't, hey, I still have their email address, which is the whole reason why I did this in the beginning. Or if you remember it in the very, very beginning, I was like, look, I need people who are interested in what I'm doing, in me as a personal brand. So I want to collect email addresses that way, or on social media, so I could have their information, so I could reach out to them when I come out with my next product. And so that's the beauty of it, is that if they buy the course, that's great, that's extra money, but really I just wanted, I wanted that audience, I wanted their eyeballs, that attention, and I'm getting that. So I'm gaining a lot of followers on Instagram right now because of the content that I'm producing and what I'm utilizing in my Instagram autopilot guide. And so I've got that going, but I'm also getting a lot of leads and email addresses from the webinar and from the Instagram autopilot guide course. So I'm gaining all of that. And most of that is kind of, that whole sales funnel is mostly in an automated fashion, besides me producing the content on Instagram. And what's interesting was that this leads in probably into the next video of, well, I've got all this stuff working for me right now. I'm gaining my audience in the way that I wanted to, either through the email list or on social media. What's the next idea? What's the next app idea? What's the next project? And when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, there's this pesky problem on Instagram that I don't know how to solve. I want to know this information. There's nothing out there. I'm going to build it. I can build it. And if I build this tool, it'll help me. It's scratching my own itch. But it's also going to help anybody else who uses Instagram for marketing, which is a lot of people. Or even just in general, even if it's not marketing. It just helps any Instagrammer. And the thing is I have a bunch of followers on Instagram now. I have a bunch of people in my email list that I knew are on Instagram who need help with Instagram. This is the perfect app to build, because I already know I have the audience, I have the eyeballs, the attention that I know that are going to be interested in it. And it's scratching my own itch, so that I know that I'm going to be creating the best type of app that I can. And so this is where I'm at right now. I'm in the middle of building my next app. I've got an email list building, almost on autopilot. I've got an audience growing on Instagram. I've got an online course that I'm selling that's doing pretty well. So I'm gaining that. That kind of side cash coming in. This is the perfect setup right now. This is exactly where I want it to be. Right after I bombed with Mission Tesseract and didn't do very well with Heroes Armory, those two apps, was I knew I needed the attention and the audience and the eyeballs. And I've got them now. And I've got them in a way where they're targeted, because I know what they're interested in. And I'm building that exact thing, or building around that exact thing for my next app, which is about Instagram. So that is where I'm at right now. I'm going to continue this in the next video. That's been basically the last several months of what I've been up to. Now you guys are kind of caught up, but I still got the next video, and where I'm going to talk a little bit more about this app. But that's what I've been up to, and so that you can see the whole process of where it took me, where I was just building apps, trying to figure out what was working there, realizing that I needed the attention, the eyeballs, either through marketing, through advertising, or through social media and email lists. And I decided this is where I needed to be. I needed to be on the social media. I needed to create an email list I needed to build a following around myself as a brand so that whatever product I created next could benefit from it, which led me to creating my own blog, my own website, and where I was collecting email addresses, creating content for blog content, creating lead magnets of the evergreen social media strategy, learning more about social, learning, creating an e-course, learning how to create an e-course. You know what I mean? There was all this stuff that I had to learn just to come back to where I wanted to be, and where I can feel like this next app that I'm going to build is going to have a lot of people who are interested in it. Time will tell whether that worked or not, but I have a feeling that it is. But I'm just kind of telling you this because I think sometimes you need to venture out up on what you feel comfortable with in entrepreneur land, and you need to do some things that you're not that comfortable with to learn, because you never know how they're going to be helpful to you in the long run. I was about to cut being through with apps. Actually, I was going to be like, I'm done with apps. I'm just going to create courses for the rest of my life, online courses, because it's doing so well. I'm going to just create lead magnets. I'm going to just create content on my website, on Instagram. And it's just funny that it brought me back to where I initially wanted to be in. I didn't plan it. It just happened that way. I mean, I could just still create courses, which I'm probably going to in the future, because I've learned how to do it, and I think it's a good business model. But I just wanted to let you guys know that try some stuff. You can get good and great ideas by cross-referencing things from different industries. So, this is the app that I'm about to build is for Instagram users that, that are interested in marketing, and I just would have never have been into the whole Instagram thing. You know what I mean? So you gotta venture out, do different things, learn some things, and they eventually come together and help you inform your next idea. That could be very good. So, my next video, I'm going to talk about what exactly this app is, how far I am, and how that's going. So you guys are pretty much up to date now, but a little bit more information. I'll catch you guys later.